You would have needed 76 to finish top 4 last season.
Yeah, but it would have been an improvement.
By a
That's all I'm saying. Anyways, let's go ahead and move on to the massive headline that has just been slowly dripping out Sunday as the match has ended and into the afternoon for us over here stateside is Eden Hazard's comments, Maurizio Sarri's comments, and pretty much everything about the Belgians' future. So he's Chelsea's top goal scorer in the Premier League this season and the league's leader in assists. Luke on Discord says, just a little question to be answered here on the pod, but how high are the chances of Eden Hazard leaving? And what in the Lord's name are we going to do if he's gone and the transfer ban is withheld? Now, Nick, that would be the new darkest timeline. Eden Hazard leaves, we get less than 100 million, and the transfer ban is upheld.
Yeah. Correct. Yeah, correct. So, I mean, to answer Luke's question, and we'll go through the comments. Dan will read out what has been released today, but the chances of him leaving throughout the year have, I think, in my mind, kind of always remained steady. I think, he was always going to go. I think Real Madrid will figure out a way via the right transfer fee and some other stuff to get the deal done, and he will fulfill a life dream to go play for them. So, I think nothing's done until it's done, and I don't think anything will be released until after the Europa League final because he is respectful of the club. But Dan, I mean, this is just the way it's trending, man. Like, I don't think Chelsea are in a position to really do anything about this or convince him to stay at this point.
No, and you can't fault someone for wanting to play at a club that they saw and had aspirations to play for at the time they were kicking a ball around as a young child. So I don't fault Eden Hazard for wanting to go. I think that unlike others who have left sometimes and forced their way out and made a big meal of it, that, again, he's done so in a manner that is respectful, saying that I've made my decision, I wanted it to be cleared up earlier, but that hasn't happened. I'm still waiting, like you are waiting. I don't think finishing top 4 makes any difference. I've made a decision. That's it. I've told the club a few weeks ago. So I think a couple of things that we've been waiting for was the club to get the official answer with a contract potentially being on the table that could have been signed that would have tied him up here probably through his most productive remaining playing days. And now it's the cat and mouse game between Real Madrid and Chelsea to figure out what's the path forward and can they come to some type of agreement on what the fee is. And if we can come to the agreement on what the fee is, which Chelsea are going to obviously value 1 year remaining on contract for Eden Hazard way more than Real Madrid are. And, it's going to be the game of chicken and see who blinks first. And I think one of the things that, sometimes when buying players, we've really struggled because we either end up paying maybe a little bit more because we get caught in a position where we haven't planned accordingly. That's more on a planning issue than a buying issue. I think when it comes to selling players, though, Brandon, we have always found a way to maximize value and even create some additional value that we might not have thought a player actually merited. So I would give the nod to Chelsea's board, to Marina, and getting the right fee negotiated that puts the club in the best position and gets Eden Hazard to Real Madrid.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, if Marina has shown us anything in the past and she doesn't talk in the papers or anything, it's that she, in situations like this where there's a clear-cut target and there is a fee to be negotiated either way, either buying or selling, she does a pretty good job historically on kind of getting the max fee, Brandon. So, I mean,
no, that's true.
I don't think she's going to mess around by any means.
No. We've actually talked about this. Chelsea are fantastic at selling players. They're just shocking at buying players. Like, the irony in that is just too much for me to handle. But you're right. They do a really good job of maximizing the value of players, especially mid-level players. So you'd think it would be a very easy position to move one of the world's best players on his day. Very, very hard to compete with, if at all. It's a gut punch, obviously, to have it happen. But I would say I think he's been generally respectful about how he's gone about it. I know this is a multi-year plan for him. I think if it were up to him, he would have had this move a couple seasons ago. But winning the league, with Antonio Conte, with Jose Mourinho, probably bought Chelsea some time. But our pathetic performances in the Champions League and, not really building when we had chances probably hurt us quite a bit. And hopefully the club can learn from that, having one world-class player, maybe two, isn't enough.
Well, and look, when the thing is done, either way, we will dedicate some time to talking about either kind of what he's going to bring to the future of Chelsea or, his Chelsea career and pay the respect that, I think he deserves. But it's, it is just hypothetical still. Like, none of these quotes are that interesting to me because that's been what has been said the entire time, Dan. Like, it's always just been this, very vague, I know what I want to do, I don't know what I want to do, I know what I want to do, and, now the club knows, so we'll figure it out after the Europa League final. So just enjoy these couple of weeks, and hopefully we get to see him make a small cameo in Boston. That's all I can really think about.
Best case scenario is they buy the replacement in advance and then sell him, because once you sell him and the cash is in our pocket, like, signing a new player is virtually impossible.
We already have Christian Pulisic, Brandon. He's in. He's our guy.
That would be the most amazing forward-thinking contingency planning this club has ever done, if that were the case. And then Cho ruptured his Achilles. So shit.
Yeah, and I think it's more that Pulisic is the Willian/Pedro replacement and a left wing replacement, and not to block the path of Callum Hudson-Odoi, but again,
no.
You don't replace Eden Hazard with one person, right? Like, Eden Hazard contributed 16 goals and 15 assists, led the league in Premier League in assists this season, led Chelsea in goals scored. Like, you don't replace him with one person when the team output is that low. You are replacing him with a top-tier center forward. You're replacing him with another left winger who can score. Like, you need to add multiple bodies to this side to replace the way that he is outputted. And hopefully then the rising tide lifts all ships, because we have become if Eden Hazard isn't having a great game, you're hoping that it's a really, really lucky set of circumstances that allows us to make our way forward, Nick. And I think the only silver lining that potentially exists in this is that we potentially find a path forward with investing in some new talent that makes us a little less reliant on individual performances, and actually the way that City does or the way that Liverpool has done, that when one player is out of form, that you have other players who can step up and the results are just a little bit more consistent.
Totally. I think I agree with that. I mean, I think he's both the blessing and the curse, right? Because we've relied on him so many times in crucial situations, and because he's delivered more often than not, it kind of, the rest of the team's mentality, I think, drops. It takes a guy like a Didier Drogba or a Diego Costa or a Lampard who are equally as hungry as a guy like Eden Hazard to make him not stand out as much. And we've just had very few of those players since he's been at Chelsea, and that's the shame that you were mentioning earlier. I mean, it's if you want to know, if you want to think about how we're going to play without him next year, and if we had to keep all the same talent, like, this Leicester game was it, essentially. I mean, for the first 65, 70 minutes, it wasn't great. And the replacements for his production are not currently in this squad.